And good morning, everyone. Once again, getting ready for another community conversation. This is our monthly conservative corner segment. So everyone, please stand by and of course, share this video.
No Bank Tower. This is KLEKLP Jonesboro. We educate, we entertain, we empower. We're Jonesboro's community radio station. KLEK 102.5 FM.
Hello, Jonesboro and Northeast Arkansas. This is meteorologist Corey Harvith with your KLEK weather forecast. For today, we'll see a chance of showers mostly this afternoon, otherwise increasing clouds. Highs near 46. Southeast winds 5 to 15 miles per hour, becoming east northeast. Rain and sleet are possible for tonight, with lows around 33. East northeast winds gusting as high as 35. Cloudy skies on Wednesday, highs in the lower 40s, and more clouds Wednesday night, lows in the lower 30s. Jonesboro's community radio station, we're KLEK 102.5 FM.
For story news in London, I'm Julia Chapman. 7 people have been shot and killed in 2 separate locations in Half Moon Bay, a community south of San Francisco. NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg is in Berlin for talks with the German government over sending battle tanks to Ukraine. And a report has found that the rising cost of living is pushing child poverty to unprecedented levels in parts of the UK.
News for this hour made possible by St. Bernard's Healthcare. As a regional referral hub, St. Bernard's offers a 440-bed acute care hospital, complete with level 3 trauma center and neonatal intensive care unit.
St. Bernard's Healthcare is a nonprofit organization.
It's 9:02.
KLEK LP Jonesboro, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council. It's now time for Community Conversations, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. Views expressed in this program are those expressed and not necessarily reflected views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriting correspondent.
KLEK 102.5 FM. Good morning to you on your Tuesday. It's January 24th, 2023. This is Community Conversations, Conservative Corner. And joining us, as always, we have Mrs. Iris Stevens and Mr. Hard Weinstock of the Northeast Arkansas Tea Party. And they're just going to kind of let everyone know what is the latest going on from the conservative point of view. So take it away.
Hey, it's a great morning, isn't it? It's sunny. And I really wish it would stay that way, but I hear we've got some weather coming in, so we'll get this done. Glad to hear from you. I wasn't here the last time. I hope the new year has started out really well for most people. Got a ton of material here today because we're going to be talking about what's going on down at the legislature. And I'm sure everybody understands, what they do down there impacts everybody in the state. So I wanted to run through a few bills, and I've just got a few because, they file hundreds. But I want to talk, and not all of the bills am I talking about have been acted on yet, but these are bills that have been proposed. And there are some of them that I think will be interesting to some people, like House Bill 1155, and that one's by Mary Bentley. I won't always say who it's by. And that's increased child care access for at-home child care providers. And I think I've heard over and over and over from people who have difficulty finding child care providers. And this bill would allow single-family residential zoned homes to provide child care services without having to adhere to a local commercial zone property requirements. So that would enable more people to do child care. And in most cases, when you have competition, it costs you a little bit less. So at least you would have access to that. House Bill 1012 is to amend the standard deduction for income tax purposes and to increase the standard deduction. That impacts all of us. I'm sure, it's tax time now. Everybody's, getting materials in and looking at the taxes. This would, in the future, if it's passed, give you that extra amount of money that you can claim for yourself that the government won't confiscate standard deduction. So I'm really hoping that one passes. Then the next few of these are also helpful for I think probably lower middle income and low income. House Bill 1010 is to require Medicaid coverage for postpartum mothers for 1 year after giving birth. Postpartum is people, you know, who've just had, or women who've just had a baby. And this would allow health care for those, because a lot of women have a lot of problems postpartum. And if you're on Medicaid, a lot of times you would not have been allowed this amount of postpartum care. And so this is going to be great for women. Anytime you can help a woman after having a baby and help with the baby, help with the mother, that's just fantastic. So I think this is great. Okay, 1011 would require Medicaid coverage and reimbursement for depression screening for pregnant women. Of course, that's really important. I tell you what, having had 2 children, I can tell you there is a certain amount of depression with a lot of births. So at least our legislature is looking at things to help with babies and the care of babies and post and pre-care. Okay, House Bill 1035 would require screening for depression of birth mothers at the time of birth, and to mandate that insurance policies cover screening for depression of birth mothers at the time of birth. So this takes care of not just Medicaid recipients, but anybody who has insurance would be able to get care for depression. Postpartum depression can be severe. It can cause problems not just for the mothers, but problems for babies. No, excuse me, my 2 dogs are having fun this morning. So I think this one is a really good one, because it would require your insurance to take care of that, to allow you a certain number of visits and things for postpartum depression. And having had it in a very minor way once, I can see why that would be a great idea. Okay, one that has nothing to do with the birth, House Bill 1023 would require flags purchased with public funds to be made and manufactured in the United States. There was a story on KAIT the other night about a flag making business here in this area in Arkansas. And they were really tickled about it and hoping it passes, because of course that's going to funnel a lot more business to them, because our public entities, taxpayer entities, actually spend probably a lot of money on flags, giving out flags, purchasing flags for all of their localities. So I thought this was really neat. I believe in giving local people business instead of sending it off to places. I try to find anything I buy locally before I, go on Amazon or Pinterest or eBay or some of those places. You really try to find it local, because that helps everybody. It brings money into the area. Okay, House Bill 1026 would prohibit local governments from enacting an income tax. So Mayor Copenhaver, not that he's thinking about it, but it would keep Mayor Copenhaver from deciding that we're going to have an income tax in Jonesboro and take more money out of our pockets. So I thought that was really good. The legislature is looking at tax money, because I'm sure you've heard me say over and over, proportionally. That means because we have a low income in Arkansas, we're like 47th, 48th in income. Proportionally, our taxes are a lot higher than the vast majority of states, especially around us. So anything we can do to keep governments from enacting these taxes is great. And they still have leeway in enacting taxes too badly anyway. So I was glad to see House Bill 1026 that would prevent the cities from enacting an income tax. Okay, the House Bill 1006 would amend the law regarding employment and to require certain employers to provide paid maternity leave. Now, we haven't got paid maternity leave for the most part in Arkansas. It's not mandated, and this would. One of the things that this does, and I'm going to read you a blurb from it. A covered employer that covers abortion or travel expenses related to abortions for employees shall provide 12 weeks of paid maternity leave to eligible employees who are employed in Arkansas. The paid maternity leave required under subdivision of this section should be paid as 100% of the eligible employee's salary. Okay, that's a very brief explanation of it, but we've seen a lot of employers, especially the large ones, say that they are going to pay for employees to go out of state if they want to get an abortion. This law says we're going to treat births as well as we do traveling out of state to get abortions, because those are paid leave to go get an abortion. We're going to treat births that importantly. So I, as a person who's extremely pro-life, I was really happy to see that. And something that's going to impact older people, House Bill 1032, it wants to increase the amount of the homestead property tax credit from $375 to $425. I don't know how many people know what homestead tax credit is, but once you reach 65, I think it's 65 in Arkansas, your property taxes don't go up. Well, no, different issue. You get a homestead tax, for one residence. That's kind of a tax credit for your house. And so that would go up. That's going to help, especially the elderly, but anybody else who fits into that category. And then one that has been kind of controversial, House Bill 1087 wants to create additional fines and require public service work for speeding offenses. And when I looked at the amount of fines that they're looking, and I thought, wow, I won't let my foot get heavy again on the accelerator, because they're talking about $200, $500, and then 25 hours of community service for certain speeding offenses. And that's more than what I want to do. Then the next one, 1091, to require that the passage of a GED test be treated the same as the receipt of a high school diploma. And that's going to be good for those students for whatever reason. And, students sometimes drop out of school, sometimes have to drop out of school. They can go back and get their GED and they won't be penalized for it being a GED instead of a diploma. Some of us have been really supporting that for years. So I was glad to see that one. And then a House Bill 1097 would reduce the top marginal tax rate for individual taxpayers. And that's the, 35.6% for federal or whatever, but this would be dealing with Arkansas state taxes. And I looked at the chart. I didn't put the chart down because it would be incomprehensible to read over the radio, but it will reduce for individual taxpayers who do not make, I think it's $85,000 a year. You would automatically get a reduction in that top rate. Okay, House Bill 1107 would provide for reasonable child support for any surviving dependent child of a homicide victim when the defendant was driving or boating while intoxicated when the homicide defense occurred. So that is an interesting thing. I don't know how that will work. I don't know if that would pass constitutional muster. I don't know how practical it is for somebody who doesn't have any money who runs over somebody. But I tell you what, it might make people think if they thought they were going to have to pay child support for the rest of the child's childhood if they created an accident when they were drinking. So anyway, this is going to be one kind of interesting to watch. And I'm running down fairly quickly here. So for older people, House Bill 1116, 1116 would create an income tax credit for taxpayers 65 and older in an amount equal to the taxpayer's property tax payment on a homestead. I thought that was really interesting because that takes the amount that you're paying of property tax and then gives you that as a tax credit. If you're over 65, that ought to help some older people. Then there's House Bill 1148 would provide an income tax credit for expenses for baby supplies, certain expenses for baby supplies. And I thought, here we've got the legislature again looking at helping pregnant women and women with children function. So I thought that one was really good. Now, keep in mind, these are not a limit because, as I said, they have hundreds that have been filed, but these were some of the ones that I pulled out because I thought they would be, look to me to be very helpful to individuals. So I like to see the legislature going down there instead of piddling, pulling out bills that would actually help people. Now, as I said before, doesn't mean they will be acted upon, doesn't mean they will be passed, but at least they're looking at this and somebody has filed each one of these bills. Hardell, why don't you take over the one that we like the most?
Well, there's actually two. One is House Bill 1024. And what this bill does is enables localities to set up entertainment districts. Now, the rules or the legislation kind of connects to having alcohol being legal in the area, but it allows localities that don't meet a threshold for the Advertising and Promotions Commission to establish entertainment areas, I guess, for whatever tourism they're looking to attract or whatever it is that they're trying to do. So I think it's an interesting opportunity for the smaller localities that may have certain attractions to go ahead and do something legislatively. And of course, the most important aspect of House Bill 1024 is that it requires a vote of the people. So if the people don't want it, you know, the city council refers the measure to the people and the people vote it down, well, that's fine. That's exactly how we want it to work. But it is an interesting opportunity for localities to try something a little bit different for revenue generating purposes. And the bill that Iris is referring to, House Bill 1027, is a bill that requires advertising, or those cities that have advertising and promotions commissions, the larger cities, to get a vote of the people before they are allowed to go ahead and tax the people for advertising and promotion taxes. So this one is real close to our heart, maybe a couple of years late, given that the Jonesboro City Council, which had historically referred tax votes to the people, the ordinance that established the brand new hamburger tax and increased the hotel tax, they didn't see that was necessary for residents of Jonesboro. And I'm just going to take a little bit of a tangent here and ask the listeners to consider that right now, get my screen here correct. Right now, the Jonesboro Advertising and Promotions Commission taxes currently have $5.8 million sitting in the coffers for future use. And ask yourself, what is the good of this amount of money sitting idle for such a length of time? And what I mean by that is, if and when they break ground and go through the construction, we're looking at roughly about the year 2025 before the Jonesboro Sports Complex and Convention Center opens. And according to the gentleman who did the scope of work for the city, may in fact be profitable or revenue generating by the year 2028. So think of the amount of money that's been brought in and could be doing much more for the people, the taxpayers, the families, if in fact that vote had been sent to the voters, and had the voters decided to increase these taxes, Iris and I don't think Iris or I would be sitting here repeatedly drawing the attention to onerous government overstepping the bounds of good governance in order to help what they claim to be a large portion of the population, but in fact, it's a crapshoot until what, 10 years down the road, and maybe they can sit back and say that it was successful.
I know, Hardell, that's been, has always been my number one complaint is that, anytime you are in an issue like this and you let the people vote on it, you may not like the vote. You may wish that they hadn't voted for it, but you feel that this was the process that this country was founded on. And I think, we go all the way back to the Revolutionary War, which a certain amount of that was founded on taxes. And so this will be a sticking point with me for as long as the situation exists, that you did not allow the people the ability to say yes or no. If they had said yes, I would have questioned it, but I would have said, okay, that's fine. The people have spoken. That's one of the best comments I think that we do with issues when we have a difference of opinion. The people have spoken. Okay, that takes care of it. In this case, because it's a thorn, because the people did not get to speak. This was imposed, almost like King George III. This was imposed upon us. So that's always been, and that's why I like this bill coming through. That it's 1024. Well,
1027 is the AMP.
Okay, 1027. I have to get my numbers right. That's why I like this bill, is because it will require the city to put to a vote. If they want to raise money through the A&P, they're still going to have to ask the people, is this okay that we do this with your money? Because it's our money, it's not their money. I'm sorry, I interrupted. Go ahead.
Well, I would like to take just a second and kind of tie it back to your, maybe hyperbolic comments about Mayor Copenhaver or the city, him being the executive, enacting an income tax in Arkansas.
No, I never said he would. I just made that.
No, and that's why I said hyperbolic. It was over the top, but it's a good example of how it may sound over the top right now, but frankly, until the city council took the vote for the hamburger tax out of the people's hands, Jonesboro had a stellar record of referring tax votes to the people. And during this whole time, the mayor has essentially set mute. With all the goings on around this particular issue, he had a history initially of saying that it was not the right time for a hamburger tax early in his tenure. And then once it started rolling through, he sat quiet the whole time. So I'd like to draw that distinction, and the very fact that the state feels it's necessary to possibly put this in the
Hurry it up,
Arkansas
Hardell.
code.
I've got two that I want to talk about too.
I want to do one more thing real quick. I want to just mention, in line with all that right now the required reserve funds in Jonesboro sets at $8.2 million. The unappropriated or excess reserves sets at $26.4 million for a balance in reserves of $34.7 million of taxpayer money sitting underneath the old mercantile bank, probably spilling over into that AMP coffer. So it may sound like we hammer this a lot, but it's so blatantly obvious that the peoples are not keeping the money in their own pockets, and government is reaching deep into them. So thank you, Iris, for the time.
Well, and I agree with you 100%. That is insulting. It's one thing for people to have a large savings account. That's good, but that's private money. This is public money that was taken out supposedly to do things for the community and the people. And for them to be sitting on it like this without a specific plan and saying, look, we've got potholes all over the town. We've got this, we've got that. We need to take this money and start, divvying it up to take care of those problems. That's what that money was pulled out of our pockets for. So yes, this really bothers me. And I hate to hurry you up, but I've got 3 bills here that are extremely controversial with a lot of people. And I still want to get into them. I don't want people to think that I avoided them. And the first one is House Bill 1156. That's concerning a public school district or an open enrollment public charter school policy relating to public school student sex. And that is the one where a public school district or open enrollment public charter school that supervises an overnight trip involving public school students shall ensure that a public school student attending the overnight trip is assigned to a room based on the public school student's birth assigned gender. Okay, this takes care of some of the people who have had a lot of angst because their children have been exposed to opposite sex. Now, this isn't happening as much in Arkansas. It has other places. However, you do laws to prevent the situation from happening so that you don't have to be reactive to it. So that's House Bill 1156. It would force schools not to put students of opposite sex in the same room. Okay. Senate Bill 81 by Dan Sullivan and Justin Gonzalez makes it generally a crime to give or send material harmful to a child. And this bill results from the library situation that's not just happening in Arkansas, or in Jonesboro, happening all over Arkansas and all over the country, where material defined as harmful to minors, including sexual material containing nudity and sexual activity, they're going to take away the exemptions for libraries and schools for librarians to be able to pass along this material to children. This is controversial for a lot of people. I think it's interesting that until some of these parents looked at some of this material for their children and then went to the librarians and said, can you kind of get this out of their, eyesight? This would not have been an issue. But as I said, this is happening not just in Jonesboro, which the fight that we had went national through a lot of material, magazines, stories and stuff, the fight about this. And I think it engendered some of the situations in some of the other counties in Arkansas. But this is going all over. The idea that librarians, and some of my best friends have been librarians, and I know they also don't agree with this kind of material being easily accessible to children. But anyway, it's this is the law that, a lot of people are angry about. That Senate Bill 81. We'll see how far it goes. But one of the reasons is, and this is a quote taken from some of the material that's surrounding this, an alarming number of books focused on sexual diversity contain sexual explicit language, including frequent descriptions of underage drinking, fondling, masturbation, orgasms, oral sex, sexual intercourse, sexual abuse, statutory rape, incest, and adult rape. Okay, this is material that I, as a former teacher and a parent, do not want to see in a children's section. I want to see it. I don't want it banned because I have a problem with banning materials. I do think that it needs to be replaced into a section where parents control it. They can control if they want their children to have this. So this is Senate Bill 81. And the last one, Senate Bill 43, is to classify drag performance as an adult-oriented business and to add additional location restrictions to adult-oriented businesses. And in my misspent youth, yes, I have attended drag shows. Never in my wildest dreams would I have expected to see children, for whatever reason and for whatever excuse, story time, drag time, story time, or what, would I expect to see children attending a drag show? So yes, I do support this bill. You need to go online and read it. Most, for anybody who's listening, all you have to do is type in a search engine. It's like www.arkleg.rs, arkleg.ar.us. Anyway, you can find it. Look up Arkansas Legislature Legislative Session 2023, and you can look up all of these bills. Put a bill name in them and see exactly what the bill reads, how it reads, whether or not you support it. So how are we on time, Lagonzi?
Ms. Stevens, we have about 2.5 minutes.
Oh, okay. So I think that, you know, all of us need to get involved. All of us need to get involved in what we're doing here, you know, and that's people that disagree with what I think about of these bills. And of course, some of them I support. This is conservative corner. So I've already told you, I do support the restrictions on drag time issues and where those can be handled and whether or not children under the age of 18 should be allowed to see them, just like we don't let children under the age of 18 into bars. We don't let children under the age of 18 drink, smoke, and do some other things. I think that should be classified, and why I think that the librarians this is a situation that's going to have to bounce back and forth. But we know that all of us, you know, have an opinion on this. And if we do, we need to call our legislators, let them know whether we support this bill, whether we don't support this bill, and why. And by the way, before I leave, we have a Northeast Arkansas Tea Party that will be happening again, meeting happening in February the 6th, Monday, February the 6th. We will be talking about power situations. And I'm talking about when you flip on your light switch, does the power come on? And we're going to have that. We're also going to have a talk about these bills, the bills coming up, and something similar, a little bit more lengthy than what we've done today on the legislature and what's happening. But I think you might be interested in this situation because we've seen power companies in the Northeast explode, the cost for them explode. So yes, I think it will be very interesting to see what some of these people have during this program. So I'm inviting everybody, whether you agree with us or not, come out and see what we are.
All right, and let's see if we have any comments on the Facebook Live. Shout out to Brittany Lewis, who was checking in on our Facebook Live. Don't have any questions or comments, but I guess that is all well because we are just about at the end of our time. So we want to thank both Mrs. Stevens and Mr. Weinstock, as always, for stopping by. Every fourth Tuesday of the month, it is Conservative Corner. And of course, that's how we do it because we are Jonesboro's community radio station. We do believe in giving all perspectives an opportunity to be heard at the table. That's why we have our counterpart making progress every first Monday. But no matter which way that you lean, just do it. I think the left and the right can both agree. You need to stay tuned to KLEK. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Community Conversations Conservative Corner. You guys have a great and blessed day. This is KLEK, 2.5 FM. All right, well, you all have a good rest of your day. God bless you all, and I will talk to you all later.
Okay, thank you.
All right, take care.